Hey guys, OFSREagle here, bringing you a brand new video today. Today I'm bringing you my go-to skill jumps on Fathom, and I don't know if you guys know a lot of different skill jumps on Fathom. There aren't as many skill jumps, really to use, or just even altogether as, let's say, Plaza or Regret. But the ones that are on here, most of them are very important. And there's always seems to be a few options to do things, so I'm going to show you the ones I use and why I kind of use them over others. So the first one I'm going to go into is the one off of Spawn. Probably the most important one for sure off Spawn is both red side and blue side have this, but it's getting to top mid where there's camo. If you guys don't know, camo spawns right up there at top mid. And so a lot of the times, especially because most of the time in the HCS playlist, the only time you play Fathom is for Capture the Flag. So pair that with the railgun, and it's a very, very important combination to have. So a lot of it revolves around getting camo and then getting railgun. So what I see a lot of people do is to get to top mid, there's a few ways you can do it. But there's two main ways to do it off Spawn, and this is what I see the majority of people do. Is let's say we spawn over here at blue, they'll actually do this. They'll run, jump over that, and I'll break it down how you do this jump here, and then they go for that and grab camo. But that's the route a lot of people take, and it's not the fastest. I'll get back to how you do this jump here. It is useful, but in terms of purely going for camo off spawn before at the start of the game before the other team, it's not the way to go. And the way you want to go is actually you start in the same area. You can start anywhere in here, but it looks like this, where you go here and you do the same jump but a little bit closer, and you actually get to camo much faster. Now some of you may know this jump, but I know there are some that don't, and this jump right here is a lot harder than this jump. There's a lot less room for error. So I'm going to break it down. First I'll go over this, and then the less useful one. So here, how it works, it's very similar to the rig, where there's a few spots on the rig where if you jump, and then it's called kneecapping, when your feet hit a certain angle of a solid object and you thrust, it turns into a ramp. And that's what's going on here, but this is a lot harder to pull off because you have a lot less distance and I guess leeway, so to speak. How it works for me, my visual cue that I get, so off spawn you're gonna sprint here. One of the first things to remember is that you do want momentum, as I'll make it easier. So you really don't want to you do not use your thrust before getting to this. If you use your thrust, this has happened many times in games, like over here, you won't be ready to do it until right about now, and then by that time, if you're playing against a high ranked team, they'll probably have already done the same jump you were attempting and beat you to it. But how it works is you're going to be sprinting, and these are my visual cues. These two blue lines, alright, and this yellow paint right there, the chipped away paint. Those are my two visual cues, okay? So what I do is I sprint, and right as I feel like I'm crossing over this with my Spartan, I jump, and then I thrust, right? So I'm trying to thrust right off of this. I'm not trying to look at it when I thrust. I'll do it one more time and you'll see what I mean. Right there. What I'm doing is I want my feet to connect to exactly this point. It's going to take a lot of time and you getting the feel of it, but you're going to be trying to go for a straight line, and if you jump too early, here let's try this. If you jump too early, this is what you'll get. You'll actually thrust into it and then end up clambering. If you jump too late, you actually kind of get the same effect too. You'll either run into it like that. If you jump too late before hitting the edge of the box, and then you'll clamber, because you'll ask, why are you clambering? You're just thrusting. The only way this works is if you hold jump right after thrusting. It's a little buttony. You know, you're using a lot of buttons. It's a little bit easier for me because I use the paddles, but if you either use paddles or claw, it's definitely possible to do just, you know, with normal bumper jumper or whatever. But what you're going to be doing is you're going to be sprinting. You jump, thrust, and then press and hold jump. And I'll show you why. If I do it without holding jump, that's the height I get. I'll do it again, and you'll see I'll line everything up perfectly, but I won't be able to make the jump because I wasn't able to clamber that edge because I didn't hold jump after. And the reason why you do that is because for some reason, if you do like a thrust bump, in any case, no matter where you do it, if you hold jump after, it actually, I'll do it again, you'll see a little bump right there of my Spartan getting some extra, like an extra foot. It's just a mechanic in the game. It works, and that's the only way that this jump is would be able to be pulled off. Right? You'll see that little stutter that I do, and that's me holding jump. If I hold jump too early, I end up clambering the edge. All right, like that. So you want to wait till after you've already thrusted and you're already kind of midair, and then you hold jump and then stabilize. I'll go over it again. You're sprinting, you're kind of using this as a visual cue. The moment you go off, you walk over that, jump, thrust, hold, jump, stabilize. Okay? And now here's the important part about stabilizing is if you do it too early, you won't get close enough. You'll end up doing something like this. You end up killing the jump because the way I think about this stabilize is that it preserves momentum, whatever momentum you're doing. So if you are going forward, it'll slow down that descent. If you're going up, it'll kind of preserve that upward momentum for a little bit. So it's the timing of the stabilize when you do this is all about you preserving the momentum, basically the trajectory that will get you there. So if you're already starting a descend like that, I don't know if you saw, I started to do a little, I started to come down from, you know, when gravity took over, and if I stabilize that means I'm preserving the downward momentum, which I don't want to. So if you do it too early, you're just slowing yourself down. You're not getting, you're not closing the distance that you need before stabilizing, right? So you jump, thrust, hold jump, and then you stabilize. So the moment I start to like level off is when I stabilize, and then I'll even add a few little Gandhi hops in there. It's gonna take a lot of time and practice, but it is the fastest way off spawn to hit camo. Again, I feel like right here, I kind of follow like this, line it up, right? This is my connecting point. I'm going here, here, to there. That's the straight line I'm aiming for. Okay, jump, thrust, hold, jump, stabilize. Okay, and then obviously you clamber. Now I'm gonna go into this one, which I don't use as much. But I'll show you why this one isn't used as much, because this brings you right into like 5 feet with camo, but this, even though it operates exactly the same, where you're sprinting, jump, thrust, hold, jump, stabilize, you're ending up a lot farther away. And also, if you notice that when I hit the blue thing, the blue little handle, I end up clambering. So if you do want to hit this, let's just say later on in the game or whatever, it sets up exactly as this first one, but you're actually aiming for about here. In my opinion, you're aiming for there, and that seems to be that that's where the ramp spot is. Basically the corner. I'd say a little bit farther away. So yeah, somewhere in here. It's too far over and you end up clambering. But it operates the exact same way. So you jump, thrust, hold jump, stabilize, and now with this you don't have to hold jump, as with this first one. Yeah, so there I didn't hold jump, but you see it was a lot. I was really close to missing it. So, but either way, it's the exact same thing. I kind of, with this, my visual cue is lining up the corner to this. Imagine a straight line there, and that's kind of the route I follow. And yeah, so this is along the exact same vein as, I guess, a thrust bump, mechanic. You are doing the exact same thing from here to top mid. So basically, you're just switching sides. It's a lot shorter of a distance, and you obviously don't do it off of spawn. This is, to me, if you just need to get to top mid really quickly and you're able to sprint. If you notice there, I didn't even have to stabilize. It's just a quick way to get to top mid from blue yard, or obviously you can do it at red yard as well. As long as you had a full sprint, if you hold jump, again, right there, I am holding jump. I don't believe it's even possible if you don't hold jump. Yeah, I don't think it is. It's just because this is such a close distance that your Spartan doesn't get the height he needs in that distance unless you hold jump, and then you'll see like a stark little, right there you saw like almost like a glitch. It's like it lagged a second. It isn't a lag, it's just you holding jump. So and here this is, I don't know if you've noticed, I kind of take that same visual cue where I kind of line up this to right there, and I imagine a straight line, and that's what I'm kind of going for when I do it. And you hit it pretty regularly. So those three all kind of go hand in hand. Now then, my next go-to skill jump is probably one everyone knows, but this right here. Just for those who don't know it or have a hard time with it, basically all you do is you're walking, you jump, hold, crouch, and as you see, I'm able to sit up here. And the actual structure that you're sitting on is this little flat piece right there. So what you end up doing is you jump, hold, crouch, and your left stick, the one or whichever one you move with, is kind of hugging you into the left, right, to the side. And your goal isn't to like sit up there. You just want to be there for just a brief second to give you time to jump up. And the way I do it, you want to jump, hold, crouch, press, jump, hold, crouch, clamber. And it's really fast, but you're basically just alternating between jump and crouch in fast motion. So jump, hold, crouch, clamber. So you're kind of like letting go of one and pressing the other at the same time. And yeah, and if you notice when I do it, you see sometimes a lot of people go like this. You can use the stick, the left moving stick, to kind of determine where you want to clamber up. I'm gonna try to do it without doing the crouch, and you'll see it won't work at all. To try to get up to there, for some reason it won't work if you don't hold crouch, and that's because your feet need to be tucked in order for them to clear the corner there and sit on top of it. And then so what's happening is you're kind of perching here for a brief second and then jumping, holding crouch, which kind of gives you that little little bit of distance closure that you need in order to clamber, and then you are clambering up there. But it's happening just really fast. Like this is technically like a slow version of it, but you want to do it pretty fast, because even if you like mess up a tiny bit and start sliding, you jump, hold, crouch, and this is close enough to where you can just clamber. I do recommend making sure your reticle is pointed up high enough, because if not, there's just for some reason a higher chance of failure. You want to make sure you're kind of looking where you want to clamber, and you end up making it easier for yourself to clamber. And so you can also determine, like, if you want to look more towards, let's say, red tree, if you need to, you can kind of come out on top looking that way if you need to, or if you want to look more towards blue side, whatever. This is one, it's going to take some time to practice. It is probably the most used jump on Fathom, I will say that. It's just the quickest way to get from here. It doesn't require thrust or anything, so you can be bottom mid, right? And you can just easily hop there. The next jump that I use a lot, this is a lot harder, but and these are all things that I haven't found or anything. I mean, these are known jumps, but these are just the ones I use a lot. This one, it's a little bit harder to do. Sometimes you may find it's exactly what you need. If you notice, as I walk over this, I kind of do a little like step up a bit. That's because this is actually higher than the rest of this little box. So what ends up happening is I can stand on top of this, walk forward, jump, hold, crouch, and if you notice, I'm sitting up here. And I'm holding crouch the entire time, and the reason why this is useful is like, oh, this is a weird hiding spot, is that you can walk to the side a tiny bit, jump, and clamber. up to top mid. It's very quiet, very sneaky. Fair bit of warning, it does take a lot of practice, and it's very easy to mess up, as you see me doing. It's just going to take a lot of time and practice. The one bit of advice I could say is don't jump the moment you feel like you're going up like this, because you won't get it. A lot of the times, like right there, I messed up, and that's because as soon as I went up, I jumped, held crouch, and I missed. So I walk, let's say, a millisecond longer. I just take an extra, I don't know, little bit of step, and you basically delay that jump as you're on top of it, and you end up hitting it a lot easier. I think that's the biggest problem people have with performing this, is that as soon as they get on top, they go for it. Get on top of this little piece, they go for it, and then they end up missing it. Instead of jumping from here, you're literally jumping from there, and that's what makes the difference in the jump, if you ask me. Then my next go-to skill jump is, you've probably seen a lot of people do this. It is actually, it can be difficult. Here's the best piece of advice I can give. So how it works is, basically, you're jumping, holding crouch, clambering. And from here, you're able to walk backwards, jump, hold crouch, and clamber. And those are the actions that are going on, but it's the timing that makes this so difficult. And so to me, what helps with the timing, and also it's where you're looking. So if you notice, if I look directly backwards and I go for it, it's actually going to be really hard for me to do. Okay, and that's because you're actually hitting this little bit of wall. See how it comes out a bit? So what I found out to be a lot easier is if you walk back at more of an angle. So what I'll kind of do is, instead of just walking back, I'll kind of position myself more like this, and you see I'm kind of going at a diagonal from the top left to the, or top right to the bottom left. And then I kind of reverse it for this angle. But the reason also why it's so difficult is if you walk back and jump and hold crouch too early, your head's actually going to hit the top of the bridge. The best way to make this successful is you're actually going to feel yourself. Watch this in slow motion. Like rewatch when I do it. How right when I go for it, you'll see me drop ever so slightly. If you wait too long, you'll end up being too far away. It's very important to hold crouch when you do it, or else you won't be able to get it. It's again that little action of your feet tucking up underneath you when you press crouch gives your Spartan the extra centimeter of push or lift or whatever in order to pull it off. And so like right there, I did it too early, and you'll see that if I do it before I kind of dip a brief second, it won't work. But the moment I fall ever so slightly and then I press jump, hold crouch, and I clamber, it's successful. And also notice I'm not going too far out at an angle. It's more or less, I'm kind of aiming here. Let me do it one more time, and you'll see almost every time I'm kind of like right along this, and then I'm not like walking left or right. I'm just walking straight back. Okay, I'm like looking here, walking straight back, and then fall, jump, hold crouch, clamber. If you hold crouch before you jump, you'll end up falling faster. The reason why this is so valuable to me is because basically it's the fastest way from this position. Let's say you're in the red yard area to get to treehouse if you need to contest camel, whatever. But there's a risk to it, because if you mess up, you just kind of wasted a bunch of time. So just take a lot of time to practice it, and once you do, it'll become just very valuable. It's very sudden, so someone can be ready to like push into red tree or push out from red tree, and you can cut them off. And if you notice, like right there, I did a little save by thrusting. If you kind of jump out too far, here I'll try to purposefully do that. So what's going on here is, if you feel like you're gonna like miss it, like right there, if you notice, anytime I've done it, I actually don't see the ledge that I'm trying to clamber when I do it successfully without a thrust. Right? So like even like here, when I go for it, I end up, you're kind of just doing it blindly almost. But right here, when you saw me do it, I saw it for a split second. So that, if you can see the ledge before you clamber, you're too late. But if you can thrust right at that second, you can end up saving it like this. Like right there, I saw the ledge, I wasn't clambering, I thrust it in, I clambered, right? Now that's obviously not what you're aiming to do, but that's just a little safety measure. When I do my movement tips and tricks for Fathom, I'll show you a few routes that incorporate this that are great for juking and things like that. But anyway, and obviously the same is applicable over here. There's virtually no change for you to fall, jump, hold, crouch, clamber. Also, this is a little jump that sometimes people have a hard time getting into in here. Because sometimes you feel like you want to go into it, you miss. Here, you're kind of too high. Here's the biggest advice I can say. So with this, a lot of people have issues jumping into here, right? And a lot of it is momentum based and distance. If you try to do it while you're walking too soon, you'll end up like running into the ceiling part like this. Also, people try to jump, hold, crouch, and you can do it, but if it ends up being a little bit more difficult, right? Best piece of advice I could say: as soon as you see this like little metal doormat, crouch on it, jump. You'll hit it every time, from no matter where you are. You could be walking, crouch, hold, jump. Yeah. You could be walking, whatever. Hold, crouch, press, jump. No, don't let go of crouch when you do it, or else you won't be able to get in at all. Like that. As soon as you hit this from anywhere, right? You could be here, hold, crouch, jump. You'll hit it. And that is to me the most exciting. Like you'll get 100% accuracy every time. Like there's no. It makes it quite easy. Now, even though that's not much of a skill jump, it's still very important. And the reason why is because over here, this is a skill jump I use mainly in doubles, not as much 4v4s. But if you notice, if I go and sprint, thrust, stabilize, hold the ground pound, thrust in, hold, crouch, I can sit up here. I'll go through it all again. This is really useful for baiting, especially in doubles, like I said, because that's a long setup. I'll show you the jump again. It takes a while, it's loud, but if in doubles, you can be, no one really expects to look up here, so they could be walking from blue base, from tree or whatever, and you can either drop and get a melee, name them, you name it, and it's great. How it works is you're perching up here. The secret to this is in one keyword: endurance or longevity. So you want to sprint and jump as far as you can, stabilize and Gandhi hop as long as you can before you fall, hold ground pound as long as you can in order to give your thrust time to recharge. So now watch how I do it. So what's going on is that I'm basically maxing everything out to give myself as much delay for that thrust to recharge, right? Because if I don't try to time things out and try to make it last, this is what's going to happen. I couldn't thrust where I needed to, and I also didn't get the distance I needed. Yeah, if you thrust and don't Gandhi hop as long as you can, I'll jump, thrust, Gandhi hop, hold ground pound. I literally cannot thrust before I ground pound. So that's why holding that Gandhi hop is so important. And all that I'm doing, I'm basically going a straight line, and as I'm holding that ground pound, I'm turning into, I don't want to be so as much forward, but I'm more like aiming for this, but then I hold ground pound, I aim in, I thrust, hold, crouch. To me, if you don't hold crouch, there's a very high chance of falling out of the spot. If you notice, like right there, I let go of crouch and it kind of shoved me out. It's just because you're tucked in, it's a very tight space. So by you uncrouching, it actually pushes your Spartan into certain objects, pushing you out. So just hold crouch after you thrust in. If you notice, I'm delaying that as long as I can. That Gandhi hop. Yeah, so I use that as a you know, almost like a setup for doubles for bait or whatever. Yeah, so I think that about wraps up my go-to skill jumps for this map for Fathom. Like I said, there aren't as many on here as some other maps, but the ones that there are very valuable and very important. So hope you guys enjoyed. I look forward to bringing you my movement tips and tricks for this map, because there's a few different routes and things that not a lot of people utilize and things like that. So looking forward to showing it to you guys. If you have any comments or questions, be sure to let me know down in the comments. Hopefully I can help you if you guys have any issues with anything. So yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you later in the next one. Peace.